Charles Whitmore owned half the city skyline, but he couldn't buy his daughter a single word. Emma sat in her pink bedroom, surrounded by every toy money could purchase, yet her silence filled the mansion like a thick fog. 6 years old, with bright eyes that sparkled with intelligence, she had never spoken a single syllable. The doctor's reports covered Charles's mahogany desk like fallen leaves. Each one carried the same crushing verdict: physically perfect vocal cords, normal hearing, exceptional intelligence. The specialists from Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and Switzerland all delivered identical shrugs. "She can speak, Mr. Whitmore. She simply chooses not to." Margaret paced the marble hallway, her designer heels clicking against cold stone. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, evidence of countless sleepless nights spent listening for sounds that never came. "Do you know what it's like," she whispered to Charles one evening, her voice breaking, "to carry a child for 9 months, dreaming of hearing Mama for the first time, and instead get nothing but beautiful, heartbreaking silence?" Charles watched his daughter through the window. Emma played alone in their manicured garden, her lips moving in what looked like conversations with invisible friends. She laughed without sound, clapped without noise, lived in a world where words simply didn't exist. The irony wasn't lost on him. His empire was built on communication, on deals sealed with handshakes and promises. Yet in his own home, the most important conversation remained forever unspoken. The weight of Emma's silence pressed down on them like the walls of their golden prison, beautiful but suffocating. Tuesday morning shattered their routine, like glass hitting concrete. Charles barked orders into his phone about quarterly reports when Margaret's scream pierced through his concentration. "Charles, she's gone. Emma's gone." The phone slipped from his fingers, clattering onto the Persian rug. They searched every room, every closet, every corner of their fortress-like home. The front gate hung open, swaying gently in the morning breeze. Charles's heart hammered against his ribs as they rushed outside, his mind spinning through every nightmare scenario. Kidnapping, accidents, a 6-year-old girl lost in the city's concrete maze. But Emma wasn't lost. She stood 30 feet away on the sidewalk, completely still, staring up at a man in orange overalls. The garbage collector. His truck idled nearby, diesel exhaust mixing with morning air. Charles had seen this man countless times, but never really looked at him. Workers like him were invisible to men in $1,000 suits. "Hey there, princess," the man said, crouching down to Emma's eye level. His voice carried warmth that Charles rarely heard in his boardroom meetings. Emma's usual blank expression shifted. Something flickered behind her eyes, something Charles had never witnessed before. Interest, connection, life. Margaret grabbed Charles's arm, her fingernails digging into his expensive jacket. "Look at her face," she whispered urgently. "Charles, look at her face." She's actually looking at him. Really looking. Emma took a small step closer to the stranger, her head tilted with curious fascination. For the first time in 6 years, someone had captured his daughter's complete attention. And that someone was a garbage man. "Don't bother him," Charles called out, his voice sharp with panic. "Emma, come back here right now." But his daughter didn't move. She remained frozen in place, studying the man as if he held secrets that million-dollar therapists had missed completely. The garbage man ignored Charles's command. Instead, he tapped a blue trash bag beside him. "You know what this is, princess." His voice stayed gentle, conversational. "It's heavy, like when you carry too many secrets around." Emma's eyes locked onto his face with laser focus. "But if you open it up and let everything out, suddenly it feels so much lighter." Days melted into a new routine. Every morning at exactly 8:15, Emma positioned herself by the front gate. She never spoke to Daniel Hayes. That was the garbage man's name, but her entire body language changed around him. She pointed at his gloves. She clapped when he lifted heavy bins. She even started leaving small gifts, hand-drawn pictures, wildflowers from the garden, her favorite marble. Daniel treated each offering like priceless art. "Look at this masterpiece," he'd say, holding up a crayon drawing. "This belongs in a museum, princess." Emma would beam silently, her face glowing with pure joy. Charles watched these interactions with growing confusion. 6 years of silence, he muttered to Margaret one evening. The best doctors money can buy, and she bonds with a garbage collector. Margaret's response surprised him. Maybe that's exactly what she needed. Someone who doesn't expect anything from her. Someone who just accepts her exactly as she is. The realization hit Charles like a physical blow. They'd spent years trying to fix Emma, when perhaps Emma was never broken. Charles made a decision that shocked everyone, including himself. Instead of hiding behind phone calls and chauffeurs, he walked Emma to the gate personally. Her small hand felt impossibly warm in his, fingers squeezing with trust he'd forgotten existed between them. When Daniel arrived, Charles didn't retreat. He stayed. "Morning, Mr. Whitmore," Daniel said, raising an eyebrow in surprise. Emma skipped toward her friend, and Charles found himself following, crouching beside them both. "Emma, did you know I almost lost my tie once? Got it stuck in a revolving door at the hotel." Emma's eyes darted between her father and Daniel, then she giggled. Actually giggled. The sound hit Charles like lightning. When had he last made his daughter laugh? Weeks transformed their family dynamic completely. Charles started reading bedtime stories, not hoping for responses, but simply enjoying Emma's attention. Margaret sang lullabies while brushing Emma's hair. They stopped treating their daughter like a puzzle to solve and started cherishing her exactly as she was. One warm afternoon changed everything forever. Emma ran to Daniel with a drawing clutched in her tiny fist. A stick figure in orange overalls stood beside a stick figure in a pink dress, with a crooked yellow sun beaming overhead. Daniel smiled. "Is this me?" Emma nodded proudly. "And this is you." Another enthusiastic nod. "And what's this beautiful thing up here?" he asked, pointing to the sun. Emma's mouth opened. Seconds stretched like hours. Then, barely audible, came a whisper that stopped time itself. "Happy." Charles's knees nearly buckled. Tears flooded his vision as Emma repeated the word, stronger this time. Happy. The first word unlocked something magical. Emma didn't suddenly become chatty, but words began appearing like rare flowers blooming in spring. Mama came 3 weeks later. Papa followed shortly after. Each syllable was a celebration, each whisper a victory against the silence that had ruled their home. Charles discovered he'd been measuring life all wrong. Success wasn't about quarterly reports or skyscraper heights. It was about the way Emma's face lit up when she managed "thank you," or how she whispered "good night" so softly it was barely breath. One evening, as Emma drifted toward sleep, Margaret spoke the truth they'd all been avoiding. "I used to pray constantly for her first word. Now I think I'll pray she never stops smiling like this." Charles kissed his daughter's forehead, tears sliding down his cheeks. "She doesn't need to fill this house with words, Margaret. She already filled it with something better. Life, hope, love." Months later, Daniel stopped by during his usual route. Charles stepped outside and shook the man's hand firmly. "You gave us something no amount of money could ever purchase. Not just words, but hope. Thank you." Daniel's response was simple. "All I did was listen, Mr. Whitmore. Sometimes that's enough." As the garbage truck rumbled away, Charles watched Emma spinning barefoot on their lawn, occasionally calling out, "Daddy, look," in her sweet, clear voice. She'd never been broken. She'd never been lost. She was just Emma, perfect in her own way, waiting for someone who would love her without conditions. For the first time in years, Charles felt lighter than any business empire could make him. True wealth, he realized, wasn't measured in dollars. It was measured in moments exactly like this one.